Hi everyone, it's Miss Naima again. So welcome back to another class text video from the chapter book of The Secret Diary of Jane Penny. So let's get reading. And we are on page 72 and it's day 28 in Jane's diary. It's one disaster after another, and this is an even bigger one. Who'd have thought that poor Jack's fall would be pushed out of the limelight so quick? So what's the limelight? Let's read. Term limelight, meaning center of attention, comes from the type of lighting used at the front of Victorian stages to light performers. Okay. This morning I was up in the beautiful drawing room, cleaning the fire grate on my hands and knees, when in bursts Nellie, one of the chambermaids what cleans the bedrooms upstairs. So next to drawing room there's a number 56, so let's have a read what that means. The drawing room was the living room, one of the main reception rooms in the house. Okay. We've become friends since I came here. Nellie, I gasps. You startled me. You'd made me drop my brush in surprise. What are you doing in here? You know this is no place for a chambermaid. You could land us both in trouble. Trouble, she cries. I could have been worse trouble. I could see now that she'd been crying, and before I knew it, she burst into floods of tears again. I put my suit pan and brush neatly to one side by the fire irons and stayed poor Nelly out of the drawing room and down the stairs. So there's a little 57 over there. Let's have a read what that means. They would only have been backstairs, servant stairs to the basement, but they would also have been backstairs to all other floors of the house. Only the family and most important members of the household would have been allowed to use the main staircase. Once we were in the kitchen, I sat her at the big table where others were already busy preparing food for the master's luncheon, even though breakfast weren't long since ended. What is it, Nellie? Tell me, I says, once I'd got her a glass of water from the kitchen tap and she'd had a gulp of it two. It's the mistress, she says. Her jade necklace has gone missing. There was a gasp from Lizzie, one of the kitchen maids who stopped chopping carrots, dropped her knife, and dried her hands on her apron. She told you that? She gasps. Of course she didn't, says Nellie, as if the mistress would talk to me. She don't even know who I am. It was Miss Annie who told me. Like I said before, Day Diary, Miss Annie is the lady's maid, in the same way that the master, Mr. Kirbytrot, has a gentleman's gentleman, Mr. Harris, to help him wash and dress and the like. The mistress, Mrs. Kirbytrot, has Miss Annie. She gets to dress Mrs. Kirbytrot, lay out her clothes, and brush her hair, draw her bath, and be at her back and call. She's probably the servant the mistress knows best of all, maybe after Mrs. McNamara and cook, and probably the one who knows her most secrets. And I knows what you're thinking. Why can't a grown man and a grown woman dress themselves? Seeing as how the rest of us can do it, no trouble. Well, the answer is that rich folk aren't like the rest of us. They are, me grand once told me, a race apart. That's race as in human race, not race as in egg and spoon race, by the by. What happened, Nellie? I says, and she told us her tale. Last evening, Mrs. Kirbytrot had decided to wear a special jade necklace that Mr. Kirbytrot had given her a few years back. They would be dining out with the General Girton, who travelled much in China and is a lover of a jade, collecting little carvings and such like. Miss Annie told Nellie, and Nellie told us that jade is a blue-green stone which ain't valuable like diamonds or rubies, except that this particular necklace is very old and made for some empress of China or something, which makes it very valuable indeed. It must have been what was in the box that seen Mr. Pritchard give Miss Annie from the safe. Miss Annie had brought up the necklace in its red velvet lined box and helped her mistress put it on in front of her dressing table mirror so that she might admire it, holding it up in front of the dress she would wear later that evening. Mrs. Kirbytrot had been pleased with how it looked, but when her husband, Mr. Kirbytrot, walked into their bedroom, he suggested her emerald necklace would suit her choice of evening wear even more than the jade. The mistress had Miss Annie take off her jade necklace, return it to the box, place it on the dressing table, and bring out the emerald one, which she keeps in her jewelry box in her room, says Nellie. This story ain't going nowhere, says Lizzie the kitchen maid. Be patient, I says. Go on, Nellie. But the carriage did not do to take them to dinner for a while. The master and mistress go about their business elsewhere in the house until it is time to change, says Nellie. Miss Annie told Nellie, and Nellie told us that come time to live, Mrs. Kirkbride says to the master that she would still rather wear the jade. But when Miss Annie opens the red velvet lined box, which ain't been returned to the safe in the meantime, but left on the dressing table, it ain't there. The box is empty. The mistress gets in all of a fluster, and Miss Annie could have sworn she put it back in there, but it's nowhere to be seen. What a mystery. Okay, we have finished reading from this chapter today, and get your pencils and papers ready to jot down the questions for this chapter. Question number one is: who came into the drawing room and disturbed Jane? And you will find your answer to this question on page 72. And question two is: what has gone missing that belonged to Mrs. Kirbytrot? And you will find this answer on page 76. Pause the video, write down the questions, and if you want, you can rewind the video to go back to the pages to look for your answers. Please make sure you put your answers on Tapestry so I can have a read. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Bye.